A graduate in mass communication, Anita has worked in marketing and training throughout a range of corporate and media environments. Also an experienced actress, Anita discovered the value of role playing as a training tool, and has used it in her corporate training work in conjunction with various international training organizations. And she uses role play with facilitation to help participants bring resolution and empathy to their feedback skills. Her clients include Ascension, Jobs for Her Foundation, Piramal Art in Residency, Infosys, Innoventure, amongst others. I give you Anita Mithra. Jyoti Thyagarajan taught math and physics and has been a much-loved teacher. An educator for over 4 decades in Zambia, Kenya, and India, she retired from her formal teaching career to fight the good fight, that of equitable education for all. Jyoti is the founder and managing trustee of Mekshala Trust, established in 2013. She's also a trustee of the Raman Research Institute. Recently, Mekshala invited Ontam Education Private Limited to share the space, making Jyoti a co-founder of Ontam Education. And the Ontam Mekshala sister concerns were invited to collaborate in a worldwide partnership to introduce the common ground curriculum across the global south. So that is Jyoti Thyagarajan for you, and Chitra Nair. Chitra is, of course, Chief Community Officer at Silver Talkies. She implements her creative vision to shape the brand identity, curates events, and handles community relations. What is this last panel discussion about? So in this last session of the day, we explore and understand opportunities in the modeling and acting space, and also listen to a real success story of how one can pivot their first innings into an impactful, purpose-driven venture in the second innings. Stage is yours, Chitra.
Thank you, Arun. So we're talking all about offbeat career choices, especially for seniors. And throughout, even while growing up, while studying, right, we are forced to study certain syllabus. But probably what you want to do is completely different. Your heart is in some place else, but you're doing what's being told to you. And so second innings, right, it can always differ from what we have always learned or always thought to be. And it could have the same base, but with very different purpose or how you execute it. So, which is why we have both Anita and Jyoti here with us to talk about it. Two from very different fields, but having similar stories. And they are friends as well. So they know each other, no ice to break here. So, Jyoti, first question to you. So this is interesting. So we do have an article about Jyoti on the Silver Talkies magazine. If you type her name on Silver Talkies magazine, you will read it. Very interesting article, I must add. So Jyoti, you were retired for just about 9 hours, weren't you? And so you have been an educator all your life, and she's worked with some of the best schools around. And now her focus is equitable education for all. So tell us, Jyoti, how did that shift happen?
It must have been temporary insanity. I can't think of anything else. Yes, I was retired for 9 hours. I spent, in fact, a lifetime of education in schools. And a secret that I'm going to let you into, the best trainer of teachers are the students in their classrooms. And if you just listen to your students, you would be a star teacher. I hope I did. So your question was, tell me how
did that shift happen?
How did that shift happen? In a rather dramatic way, it seemed I retired. I thought to myself, this is great. I can go and have coffee tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, and there won't be kids waiting for me after I finish that cup of coffee. And at 2 o'clock, I remember waking up in complete belief that I had spent my life wasted in the higher end schools. Why do I say that? Because we make but a dent in them. The higher end students are taught by their parents at the dining table. They're taught by their brothers in the living room while they're watching TV. They're taught in their kitchens by their grandmothers who make fantastic food. So in no uncertain terms, they came to us already well taught. There are the occasional corrections that we have to make, but it wasn't good enough to have spent a whole lifetime perfecting an art that never reached the bottom of the pyramid. And the bottom of the pyramid is what is keeping your country a democracy. It is the bottom of the pyramid that is keeping every country in this world functioning, being democratic, being kind, being inclusive, and all the good things that countries should be, right? And once you realize that, then your head doesn't let you go back to sleep. So I remember waking up and shaking my husband awake and saying, "Thyagarajan, I've made a terrible mistake in my life." And he said, "Shh, go back to sleep, it'll go away in the morning." And I can tell you it didn't. By the morning, I had a solution. This was in 2001 or 2 or something like that. And well before EdTech was even a dream in anybody's eye. And then I sat up and thought, how do we do this? How do I teach every single child and teach every single human being how to learn better? No answer predicted itself, so I thought of other systems. The cell phone was just beginning to grow, and I thought, aha, the cell phone is a system that's growing. So what is happening that is right with a cell phone that is wrong with education? And then I realized it was simply a matter of reach. So it wasn't that I did something, but the rest of the world, the rest of the technology world, caught up with me and gave in my hands a cell phone, and an easy transferable device to carry the word out. I trusted it. And we went with it. I had a group of people that believed the same sort of thing, and that is what made that a success. While education for the unprivileged was not a success before. Don't shoot me if I tell you this, but no, it's a problem that hasn't been solved. Every day, I'm completely focused on finding a new solution to a new problem. And this doesn't come because this comes from long hours of staying awake and worrying about things. It is certainly not blonde, it is gray, and it is hardworking gray. So yeah, you just have to wait for it to hit you, and it'll work.
Lovely. Well said, Jyoti. And I think you just made me realize, of course, there are all kinds of people, right? Like I'm thinking 48 hours is not enough for the weekend. Hey, Monday morning blues. And here she is with 9 hours thinking, why did I even retire? What's next? So yeah, so kudos to you.
Thank you.
Anita, I come to you next. So Anita, you have spent over 3 decades in sales, marketing, and communication, right? And what you do today, you're a casting coordinator and a talent manager. So, same with you. How did that move happen? And how have you used theatre to bring value to the work you do today?
Well, actually in my head, I never made a switch. I was always a theatre person, right from the age of 4, which is a very long time. And initially, in my day, which is most of your day, is you couldn't make a career out of acting unless you moved to Bollywood, and not too many of us had families who were very approving of that. So I sublimated it. I would be an actor in the evening, and I would do my sales, marketing, communication after doing mass comm, which was a good career to have. Somewhere along the line, I realized that what I was intrinsically good at, which is being an actor initially, is something that I needed to explore in order to be happy, to feel complete. And while it was not a sound financial decision, it made me very happy. Because that is what I felt I was born to do. And after about 15 years of doing performance and directing and scripting and directing really big theatre productions and theatre festivals at Rangashankara, multiple weekends, hundreds of plays under different banners, I got bored. And that, I think, is the problem, which is why I was never in a corporate job. I require stimulation all the time, and I require innovation to keep me interested. And I found that, like Nidhi was saying, or I think Tanishta was saying, when you do something for so many years, you just know your subject. And that's where I am now. So I use performance and theatre to improve people's communication, feedback skills, teamwork, team cohesiveness, to discover who you are inside in order to be more effective on the outside. And while I was doing all these things, I decided to help a friend launch her acting career because I know people, having been around now for 30, 40 years. There's no way in a place like Bangalore where you don't know people in a similar field. And while I was introducing her to get roles, people started saying, hey, you have this huge network, why not use it to help us find people to put in ads, to put in film, to put in web series. And that's the time that COVID hit. And a lot of my shows were not live anymore. They had gone online, and I had the time. And I thought, okay, let me give it a shot. What's the harm? Till COVID disappears, this is something that can occupy me. Well, COVID's come and hopefully gone to a large extent, but I'm still casting morning, noon, and night. Because the happy thing is, we no longer want Bollywood types in our ads. If you've noticed, we want grandmas, we want grandpas, we want fathers, we want people that we can relate to as human beings. We no longer want super good-looking, plastic-looking people. Yeah? And so, with my cachet of actors and real people, I suddenly have this huge playground. And I have a wonderful network of people who want to act for various reasons, who want to be in ads or whatever they want to do. So for me, it was not a switch. It was more like an organic unfurling of something.
So my other question would be, what could be some of the offbeat or different career choices for second innings from what you have observed around you? Not just what you do, but in general, right? What could those offbeat choices be for seniors?
So I'm going to answer that in one word. I'm a physics teacher. I answer everything in one word. Usually it's gravity. And that one word is everything. You know, everything picks you up if it has a problem and you have a problem to solve. You know, for instance, I solved a problem when I was going through school. I have to say, I promise you, the world picked the best-looking girls to come into school with me. Right? I was short. I was plump. I had a long plait that my grandmother looked after with great affection, oiled it every Sunday morning, so that Monday morning I would usually go to school with oily hair. I wore thick glasses, and I was good in math and physics. I mean, come on, you know how many... So what I developed was a sense of humor, right? So I tried to make everything look funny, and that is all you have. The skills that I used to do that is what you need to problem solve. Because here was a problem. Put yourself in my shoes. This was my problem. And I made it into a success by doing many things. I would listen to what people started to say, and I would find a problem there. Then I would find a solution. I would test it a couple of times against what they were thinking. And if I got an occasional laugh, then I knew I was on the right track. If I didn't get a laugh, then I was on the wrong track. And then I would back up and I would try another trick. And little by little, I became the kid that everybody wanted to invite to their homes because their mothers and fathers loved them. This is a tragedy for an 8-year-old child, I have to tell you. But on hindsight, it was a great success for me. And I got all that just now. Just from the story, I've never told the story like this, but just by being in the moment, looking at the problem, finding a solution, testing it, not working, rolling it back, trying something slightly different, solves all problems. So look at the problem that I was faced with. I thought to myself, I have to teach every kid in this country, and I remember my husband's face when I said this. He was having breakfast. He said, what? Every kid in this country? No, he said, start with a bite-sized problem. I could have at that point said, I have, it's this dosa, this is a bite-sized problem. But it was a huge thing to do. And if you had asked me if I was doing this 2 or 3 months ago, I would have had a really powerful statement to make. And that statement would be, I am in every state, Meghshala is seen in every state in this country except for Mizoram. Today, today, the statement is not so strong. It is, I'm in every state in this country. It's not great. It's not a great statement. But Mizoram also touched down about a month and a half ago. So, in every state. And I'm thinking, from Siachen, we get touchdowns from Siachen right down to Kanyakumari. And this is said so often, but the import of it is not. So how did this happen? It just happened by mobilizing people to like what you do and having it literally target the problem that they have. If you can target the problem that they have, this will work. My problem, honestly, is, getting enough funding to actually push it out. Because if I'm going to try and hand everyone a device with lessons on it that teaches them what to do in class, the problem is solved. I have to find the device. I have to find the money for the device, the money to write the lessons properly, make sure that every lesson has an activity, touch the NEP. Everyone's talking about NEP. NEP has been written 4 times before, and it hasn't touched the floor of the classroom. It hasn't. And if anyone thinks they have, I would be delighted to take you to any school you pick. You close your eyes, touch down, I'll take you to a school there. I'll walk you into that school and you can watch a class. And it hasn't touched that school at all. How is that going to change? Just by getting within touching distance of every teacher in this country. And it's possible. It's possible with tech. It's not possible with me. It's not possible with just money. It's possible with a judicious mixing of tech and money and teacheries, for lack of a big... They've never invented a word for the skill of teaching. I think it's teacheries. Like Chinese. Doesn't work for Tamil, no? Tamilese, no. But that's really what that's the way one can solve a problem, and that's really why I think it's possible to do.
Amazing.
I don't know if I lost my way with your question, and I
No, but
often do.
But I think we all got the answer. So, because Jyoti is so into the work that she does and with the teaching and to make it reach all nooks and corners of the country, my question was, did you notice any other offbeat career choices around you?
So I was miles away. You should pull my hand and say, come this way.
But there was that sense of humor, so who would stop you? You'd love that.
Yeah, so every option, every problem that you see has a way to be solved. And only you know what the solution is, because only you saw that problem, right? So any single one of you that has a problem, there is a solution. Get a group of people together who love problem solving. Usually they are mothers-in-law, and and usually they are in your kitchen, and you should get them all together, and you can solve it. Fathers-in-law also sometimes, especially if they.
Thank you, Jyoti. Anita?
So after I touched 40 and I thought I should grow up at some point and look for serious jobs. In this country, nobody would have me, because that's why I was listening very interestedly, because the minute they look at your age, it doesn't matter what you can contribute, they don't want you. And that's a sad fact. I'm so happy to see and to hear you say that that's changing, because we have so much to give and there are no takers, I found. I worked abroad for some time, and what I realized is it's not such a big deal. They will say, what a lovely resume, but with all due respect, what can you do for me now? And I like that attitude, because there's a lot I can do for you now. Age is not just a number. I bring with it so much of life experience. Yeah? So as an answer to that question, I would say I discovered that the things that I never realized were abilities. For example, when I worked in Australia for a while, I cracked my first job in 24 hours because I spoke neutral English. Go figure. I've done mass communication, I've worked as a director in a company, and there I cracked my first job, because we take that for granted, our neutral Indian English accents. It was in demand. Okay. Similarly, when I started doing things in theatre something that was always something I did in the evening for fun. But hey, when you've done it for 50 years, even a monkey gets good at it, right? And you don't realize, somebody asked me, how long have you been doing theatre? And when I realized I'd been doing it for 50 years at that juncture, I sort of sat up and said, maybe I should do an open workshop now. I'd not thought of it before, that I know so much and I just assume other people know it. They don't. So I would encourage all of you to just put down skills that you've always had, that you've taken for granted. Now is the time where people are willing to look at that skill as a job, as something you can impart, an intrinsic skill.
Lovely. Thank you, Anita. So I think what's to take away is there is something for everyone. So they speak for what they do, but in this room and whoever has joined us today, the thing to take away is, think of it's a seed, right? And you can take it from there. I think you spoke to us a little bit about Meghshala, but we'd like to know what gave you the idea to start it, how easy or difficult was it, and if at all there were any challenges, would you like to share those with us?
Yeah. She thinks of everything. Yes, there will be challenges. There will be challenges. You must have an inner desire to say, even if it is really, really tough, I'm going to get to the other side of this. And talk to people. I talked to so many people every time I ran into a problem. And usually someone or the other would say something that was halfway to the solution, and somebody else would have said the other half. You slam the two together and you've got a solution, right? So talk to people, keep building different ideas. and move forward. That's one way in which you can solve any problem that you face. And believe that you can do it. By the way, if it is a socially important activity, just that you have your feet on the ground with that activity is good enough. Because you bring to the world an amazing process. You bring to the world an amazing solution. You bring to the world a recognition of a need that exists, that other people have not seen or other people have not picked up. So in a multitude of ways, you are a pure diamond and you must use it to cut through anything to get to the other side. And don't tell yourself somebody else will do this. Because if somebody else could have done it, they would have done it. But nobody had done it. So it's left to you. Yeah.
Thank you, Jyoti. I think also, do you just want to tell them what Meghshala means? Because I've read it. It was very interesting. What does the word mean?
Yeah. It was quite funny, actually. When I was thinking this thing out, I realized that I had to be a tech, that it had to be on the cloud. And the cloud didn't exist really in those days. What do I mean those days? It was in 2014 or 15 or something, and nobody used the cloud very much. Posted on Facebook. I taught kids in Africa and I taught kids in India. And I posted on Facebook that this is what I want to do. Can someone come up with a nice name for it? And two sets of kids who had never met and who were from completely different countries talked to each other in front of my eyes. You know, it was like having them in the same classroom, and they came up with a name. And we posted it, and it became what it's become.
The Cloud School.
The Cloud School, yeah.
Thank you, Jyoti. So not just schools, you didn't just reach all the schools, but Meghshala is also one of the NGO partners with Silver Talkies, and especially during COVID, we've done a lot of...
We were doing some Hindi translations also.
Yes.
Yes. So we want many people. Please don't go away. We'll keep coming back. You stay right there.
You stay right.
So from one teacher to another, Madhu, stay. We've spoken all about being being aspiring, what you want to do, you know. There is no saying no to what your passion or your vision is. But now coming to the practical aspect of things, especially when it comes to modeling for seniors, you know, is the industry really that keen and open for senior models? And if so, what should one keep in mind? Because we know any modeling career, age, irrespective of the age, it's not that easy. And the number of people out there, it's like in herds, right? So you can't just think, okay, I've heard this talk today and maybe I should give it a go. So what's the reality check that you'd like to share with us?
First, and the good news is there's a huge demand. Because if, like I said, if you're looking at recent any form of entertainment, anything, especially with the rise of OTT and Netflix and everything, it's a huge demand for new faces and faces that have character. They're not looking, for just the Khans and the whoever, Kapoors of this world. There's a chance for everybody. That's the first thing. But on the flip side, it is definitely not a career that you can depend on for financial sustenance, especially initially for the longest time. Yeah. And it's like the casting process is so random, because while I may think that you're perfect, and since I'm a director, I have a fairly good pulse. I know when you fit a role. The director may not agree with me. He may be having a bad day and fought with his mother who looks like you, and that's the end of your chance. It's true, it's a fact. Or he may decide my character must have curly hair. But he hasn't told me that. So I'm saying, no, this person's wonderful, that person, no, we'll take that fourth person who's actually my neighbor, my aunt's neighbor, used to live in Chennai 25 years back, I'm going to cast her. So the point I'm trying to make is, while it's fun, if you get a role, it's not something, A, you can depend on, that is going to happen regularly, and B is you need to have a lot of patience. You'll have to do 10 auditions before you get one role, purely because of the same reason, that because it's so random, you may lose out so many times on opportunities, not because there's anything wrong with you. Half my time I spent telling people there's nothing wrong with you. You did fine. It's just that we don't know why this random decision was taken. And the other thing now is, because of COVID, which is good, most of the audition process happens by yourself. You shoot on the phone and you send us a video on WhatsApp. So that's really easy. But a lot of people have a problem because one is we're not tech savvy. We don't know how to use our cameras properly. We don't know how to light our faces properly so that we're seen. And the other thing is, a lot of us are dependent on someone else to hold that phone. Okay, so those are things you need to get independent with. Buy a tripod, that's not expensive. Learn how to shoot yourself and prop that phone up. Because if you have a phone and you have a good camera, that's 90% of your battle. I know a lot of people, and people who are members of Silver Talkie, who don't send in the auditions anymore because they said, I have nobody to shoot me, I have nobody to hold the phone, it's too difficult. If you really want to do it, there are very simple solutions for everything. I would encourage you to give it a shot if you ever. Most people tell me, I want to do this now because in school I used to do drama. I would love to try it again. There's no harm in trying it. What's the worst case scenario? You don't get the role, big deal. You know, you've met some interesting people, you've made some contacts, and you do other things while you're doing this. You don't only do this. I hope that's answered.
Absolutely. Thanks, Anita. I think another question I'd like to follow up to that is, now if a senior has decided, let loose of all inhibitions, got that tripod, got there, but can they go there and play their senior card? How are they treated with probably the younger counterparts who are there at set?
There's no difference. They are equally important because they're playing a part. They've been chosen for that role. So everyone's equal, and in fact, they have a lot of fun on set. Because as we get older, our social circles get a bit smaller. I mean, like, you have this club, you're lucky. A lot of people, their social circle really shrinks. And when you go on set, you get to meet young people, old people, famous people, not so famous, the directors, the producers, the photographers. There's a lot of life and fun which you can have. And I think that's a very underrated word that we stop using, is we stop having fun. We should never do that.
Thank you. Thanks, Anita. I think that cleared a lot of doubt. As fun and candy as it sounds, right? I think we already spoke about, it's not that well paying. So is it only for people who already have a strong financial backing or backing even at home? Is it just for them to aspire to take this as a career option?
I think it's true of two sorts of people. One is that you don't really have to, there's no pressing need to earn a monthly salary. You have savings, not necessarily that you're dependent on people at home. Or you have a dream and you want to pursue that dream. And it's never too late to do that. So either ways it's fine. But if you're in the middle and you really need to earn a living, then I always tell even young actors, don't quit your day job. Definitely not. Not till you've got steady work coming in, which is few and far between for people I'm as old as you are. So I'm speaking from your side of the table. Is that I wouldn't quit what I'm doing now and only become an actor, because I would be waiting for months for a role. So you continue to do what you're doing to sustain yourself. And this comes initially as a fun thing. And then if you click, like we were talking about someone from your club called Kalpana Rao, who started off just by doing a couple of roles. Now she's moved to Bombay and she's fully occupied. You'll see her in every movie, in every ad. She's doing so much of work. So it is possible, but it has to come in stages. It can't be immediate. It takes time.
So it's something like an offbeat career. It's not a 9 to 5 job. All of us know, right? It takes all that you can give. So how important is your family support? Do you always get it? Given that, like Jyoti, you said you're like checking your emails at 12, right? So are your family as supportive, and how much of that is important?
So, I have to say that if you don't have a support system, you don't have the stability of taking a forward step. It is very important to get support, and in a very little time, if you don't have that kind of support, it sours. You know, the fact that you're going out to get some work done sours. The fact that you've come back home late and dinner's not on the table, that sours. You know, all these sort of things do happen. So I would say that the first thing that maybe you should do is first build that support within your family and let them understand, you know, how you feel about this before you take your first step.
I would say it's lovely to have support, but you have only one life. And if you don't get the support and you want to do it, what's the worst case scenario? Try it. If it doesn't work, say, hey, I was wrong, and do something else. Yeah? But don't give up.
Thank you.
So very big thank you to our panelists here.